John Lee attends a public consultation session ahead of his 2023 policy address. A Russian missile attack on a northern Ukrainian city leaves 7 dead and over 100 injured. Good evening and welcome to TVB News. In about 2 months' time, Chief Executive John Lee will be delivering his 2023 policy address. Over 100 residents attended a public consultation today. The SAR's economy and low birth rate were among the issues raised. Some 120 people from all walks of life attended the first session of the 2023 Policy Address District Forum, which was held at a primary school in Seaquarium this morning. In the first half of the session, Chief Executive John Lee and government officials listened to views from the public. This man said, "I personally feel that the city's economy is picking up, but are we just being too optimistic, especially when there are far fewer people going out at night than before the pandemic?" Others doubted how Hong Kong can keep its attractiveness to tourists when a lot of local people choose to spend money up north. Some also raised concerns about the city's low birth rate, so low that on average, each woman in Hong Kong doesn't have one child. According to them, this is why Hong Kong has the lowest fertility rate in the world. This woman said, "We're hopeless because we cannot afford to buy a flat. Thus, we can't see ourselves having a family." This father of 3, meanwhile, hopes the government can extend special child allowance for each child born during the year by at least a few more years, saying it can be tough raising several kids in Hong Kong. Then, residents were split into groups for more in-depth group discussions. Some residents expounded on the issue of low birth rate. This woman asked, "Is it possible that women can be encouraged to freeze their eggs once they graduate from college?" She said chances are by the time they find their better half and start a family, they will probably be in their 30s. She suggested the fees for freezing eggs can be tax deductible. Wrapping up the 2-hour consultation, John Lee admitted more work needs to be done to make the city more lively at night, such as hosting night markets. He said travellers' habits may have changed over the years. The direction won't just include shopping. We will actively look into promoting preservation of the environment, culture and history, he said. Lee added he will set priorities for his administration's policies in accordance with the opinions he has gathered. Security was beefed up during the consultation with special police vehicles on standby. The next district forum will be held in Sha Tin next Sunday. Secretary for Health Lo Chung-mau said the employee turnover rate of younger specialists at public hospitals is relatively high, owing primarily to the lure of private practice. He hopes public hospitals could do more to keep quality personnel by enhancing job satisfaction. Timothy Lee tells us more.
Between 2022 and 2023, Hong Kong's public hospital doctor turnover rate was 7%. Secretary for Health Lo Chung-mau said in recent years that many young doctors, especially those aged between 30 and 39, would switch to private practice once they receive specialist qualifications. He added that many are attracted to the higher pay of the private sector, and that public hospitals need to double their efforts to hang on to their healthcare professionals by increasing their sense of work satisfaction. Lawmaker David Lam of the Medical and Health Services constituency, who started his career as a doctor at a public hospital, said many choose to leave the public sector because of the large amount of work and long waiting times for patients. He suggested doctors split their time between practicing at public and private hospitals, giving them the opportunity to conduct surgeries in A&E while allowing them to treat their own patients. But the lawmaker said he disagreed with the notion of increasing salaries at public hospitals, adding that the government should ensure the prudent use of public funds. Timothy Lee, TVB News.
The airport's website experienced technical difficulties this morning and was unable to provide updated flight information. It was repaired later at around noon. Starting at 7 this morning, the airport website stopped showing updated information such as flight arrivals, departures and boarding times. Users were instead directed to contact information sections of their respective airlines. Travelers were still able to access such information via the airport mobile application MyHKG. Urgent repair work conducted by the airport authority eventually solved the technical issues. The Transport Department was notified by an HKE toll service provider that a staff member allegedly charged motorists a handling fee. The individual has been suspended from duty. The staff member was a temporary worker who claimed on an auction site that they could pay the fee for drivers whose HKE toll payments failed to go through. The workers said they would charge drivers a handling fee worth 20% of the HKE toll payment or $2. The incident has been reported to the police. A Russian missile attack on a northern Ukrainian city has killed 7 people and wounded over 100 others, including children, Ukrainian officials said. The attack happened as Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky arrived in Sweden on his first foreign trip since attending a NATO summit in Lithuania last month. Seaquarium with more.
This theatre in the historic northern Ukrainian city of Chernihiv was bustling with life just before the missiles struck on Saturday. Ukrainians were returning from church as they celebrated a religious holiday. The strikes blew the roof off the theatre, destroyed nearby cars, and left more than 140 injured, including 15 children and 15 policemen. A 6-year-old girl was among the dead. The theatre was hosting a gathering of drone makers and aerial reconnaissance training schools. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said the attack proved Russia was a terrorist state. Zelensky was speaking from Sweden, where he met Prime Minister Ulf Kristersson in an unannounced visit to discuss the war. Sweden, which is aiming to become part of NATO, has provided more than 2.2 billion euros worth of aid to Ukraine since the start of the war. Both countries agreed to explore delivery and training of CV-90 infantry fighting vehicles. Zelensky also requested Sweden's Gripen fighter jets. Kristersson offered no solid promises, though he firmly supports Ukrainian integration with Europe.
Ukraine is fighting for us, for all European democracies. Never before have we had such a strong focus on supporting one single country. The overarching goal of the strategy is to support Ukraine's integration into the EU.
Russian President Vladimir Putin, meanwhile, visited the border city of Rostov-on-Don, where in late June, Wagner private army fighters launched their failed mutiny against the Russian Defense Ministry. It was Putin's first visit to the city since the incident. He spoke with War Commander Valery Gerasimov and other top leaders from the southern military district. In recent months, Russia has had to defend itself against drone attacks inside its borders. Russian authorities reported on Sunday a drone attack on the city of Kursk, close to the border with Ukraine. Seaquarium, TVB News.
Russia's first moon mission in 47 years failed after its Luna 25 spacecraft spun out of control and smashed into moon. The country's space agency, Roscosmos, said the spacecraft ran into trouble while trying to enter a pre-landing orbit. Roscosmos also said in a statement that Luna 25 moved into an unpredictable orbit and ceased to exist as a result of a collision with the surface of the moon. The spacecraft was scheduled to land on the south pole of the moon on Monday, racing to land ahead of an Indian spacecraft. The lunar south pole is of particular interest to scientists who believe polar craters may contain water. British police say an undercover sting operation at a London hotel helped recover an ancient Chinese vase which was stolen from a Swiss museum 4 years ago. The vase, photographed by investigators, is worth $2.5 million. The porcelain antique is over 600 years old and dates back to the Yongle period of the Ming Dynasty. It was one of 3 items stolen from the Museum of Far Eastern Art in Geneva. Police posing as buyers fought the thieves into trying to sell the vase at a hotel in 2021 after a tip-off from an auction house. A London court found 2 men guilty of attempting to sell stolen goods. A third man pleaded guilty to similar charges. 2 other men who were arrested in London are awaiting trial in Switzerland for their alleged role in the burglary. Still to come on tonight's news, a U.S. pilot chops down a parking gate at Denver International Airport. And the 35th anniversary of the light rail transit system in Hong Kong. At Denver International Airport in the United States, an airline pilot reached his breaking point while waiting at a parking lot. He apparently got so frustrated he used an axe to chop down the gate. More details from NBC News.
It's hard to look away. An axe-wielding airline pilot waging war on a parking lot gate. Cameras capturing the bizarre moment at Denver International Airport when United Airlines pilot Kenneth Jones, still in uniform, hacks away at the gate over and over again, more than 20 times. The pilot told police that multiple cars were backed up behind the gate. That's when he decided to get the axe he already had in his car and solve the problem himself. He told police he had, quote, hit his breaking point. When a parking lot employee tries to take the axe away, the pilot won't let go, both of them gripping it for 2 minutes until another employee arrives.
This is somebody that's probably really had a really tough trip and is very stressed.
United Airlines has suspended the pilot as they investigate.
Will this pilot be allowed to return to the cockpit?
Oh, I think so. I think he will be evaluated by professionals, and I think once they determine what caused it and to be able to reduce the stress in his life to a manageable state, I think he'll return to fly.
When police arrived, the pilot turned himself in. He was charged with criminal mischief. A pilot going to extremes after he was forced to wait at the gate. George Solis, NBC News.
Lolita, an orca whale held captive for more than half a century, died at the Miami Seaquarium as caregivers prepared to move her from the theme park. The Seaquarium posted a statement from the non-profit group Friends of Toki on social media that Lolita, also known as Toki, started showing serious signs of discomfort. The 57-year-old orca died from an apparent renal condition, the statement said. Animal rights activists have been fighting for years to have Lolita freed from her tank at the Miami Seaquarium. In March, the park owner and Friends of Toki announced a plan to possibly move her to a natural sea pen in the Pacific Northwest. The 5,000-pound whale retired from performing last spring as a condition of the park's new exhibitor's license with the U.S. Department of Agriculture. Wildfires are causing devastation in Washington state in the U.S. and Canada's Northwest Territories. A wind-driven wildfire in the east of Washington state destroyed at least 185 structures, closed a major highway and left one person dead. The blaze began shortly after midday on Friday on the west side of Medical Lake, about 24 kilometers west of Spokane. Video shot on Friday by Medical Lake resident Mike Zapon showed a huge plume of smoke in an urban area and helicopters dousing the flames. The fire grew to nearly 38 square kilometers. In Canada's Northwest Territories, a significant number of structures have reportedly been destroyed. The burnt-out skeletons of cars littered the town of Enterprise, where earlier this week residents were ordered to evacuate. No deaths were reported. Canada has seen a record number of wildfires this year, more than 5,000, causing choking smoke in parts of the U.S. Locally, a section of Kings Road in North Point was closed to traffic for the most part of daytime today because of the demolition of a footbridge on Tong Shou Road. The road was reopened at around 4 p.m. Public transport services affected by the temporary traffic diversion were then restored to normal. The demolition work began late last night, with the traffic diversion originally planned to last until 8 this morning. According to workers, some issues were reported at the demolition site, which led to the delay. Several bus and minibus routes were diverted during that period. Chairlady of the Performing Industry Association, Lisa Hui, told TVB News that stepped-up safety measures are making it more difficult to create complex stage designs. She also hopes the government can ramp up support for the industry and boost concert tourism. Relevant regulations have been tightened after a giant screen fell from height during a concert by boy band Mirror last year. Speaking to TVB News, Lisa Ho noted the costs of staging performances and concerts have gone up, with more compulsory tests and verification needed. Today marks the 35th anniversary of the MTR's light rail system. The transport company introduced 2 replica light rail vehicles to celebrate the event. A replica light rail vehicle could be seen at Siu Hong Stop at noon. It was painted with the same white and orange color scheme of the light rail's first fleet of vehicles. Residents were treated to a display of historical photos and memorabilia inside. Starting on Monday, the first replica light rail vehicles will travel primarily between Tuen Mun Ferry Pier and Yuen Long on the 610 route. That's the news. Thanks for watching.